Be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird.
Okay, so get this. The WNBA's ratings just tanked, interest is vanishing, and what happens next? Sue Bird steps up and, of course, drops Caitlin Clark's name back into the conversation. Because when all else fails, when the spotlight starts to dim, there's always one guaranteed way to stir things up. Mention Caitlin.
Talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a...
Now enter Stephen A. Smith, who's been riding with Caitlin Clark all season and wasn't about to stop now. The second Sue Bird tried to stir the pot, Stephen A. came out swinging. Things got heated fast. He made it crystal clear he wasn't going to sit back and let anyone downplay Clark's impact or throw shade her way. If Sue thought she could casually toss Clark's name into the mix without pushback, Stephen A. made sure the entire sports world heard his response loud and clear.
Yeah, that's where these viewership numbers are coming. Yeah, it's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand the...
But here's the thing. Sue Bird absolutely hated it. Stephen A. wasn't sugarcoating. He was pointing out the cold, hard reality. WNBA viewership is tanking. The ratings for the finals are flatlining. And outside of Caitlin Clark, nobody's really tuning in. That cut deep. Sue didn't want to hear it. Didn't want the league dragged through the mud in front of a national audience. But Stephen A. wasn't backing down. He doubled down, reminding everyone that numbers don't lie, and right now the numbers are brutal.
Tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
So Otter Express steps in, almost like the voice of every fan watching this chaos unfold. He just throws his hands up and says, "What was that all about?" Because really, that's the question everyone's asking. Was this about protecting the league? Was it about bruised egos? Or was it just another example of how the WNBA can't handle the spotlight Caitlin Clark drags onto the court every time she shows up?
Sharp starts to talk about the attendance and says, like, basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark played her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10,000, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge in Indiana to play a home game. So
Stephen A. Smith may work for ESPN, but he's never been the type to hold back. He calls things exactly how he sees them, and right now the truth is simple. The WNBA has struggled to keep its numbers up without Caitlin Clark. Like it or not, she's the biggest draw in the league. Sue Bird, on the other hand, pushed back with her own counterargument. She pointed out that stadiums are still packed and fans are showing up in person. But here's the twist. She admitted much of that attendance might be tied to ticket prices being slashed dramatically just to get people through the doors.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in view.
Seriously, $10 for a playoff ticket? That's insane. But let's be honest here. Does anyone really believe the WNBA would be selling seats at that price if Caitlin Clark were actually on the floor? Not a chance. Her presence alone changes the entire market. With Clark playing, those same tickets would be selling for 5, maybe even 10 times more. That's the undeniable difference she makes. She's not just filling seats, she's raising the value of every single one.
And with Shannon, there's an aspect of them like defending their stances on her. Like, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing. No.
A WNBA legend, one of the most respected figures in women's basketball, has found herself caught in the middle of a surprising controversy. Sue Bird, a name synonymous with excellence and leadership, reportedly pointed the finger at none other than Caitlin Clark for the league's massive drop in playoff ratings and ticket sales. The reaction was instant shock. After all, Clark has been widely celebrated for bringing unprecedented attention to the sport. For many fans, Bird's comments felt like a complete curveball, leaving people questioning why one of the game's greatest icons would put the blame on the very player many see as its brightest star.
You guys take a look at the stands. All the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
Sue Bird, a longtime champion for the WNBA's growth and resilience, wasn't about to let Stephen A. Smith's criticism slide. To her, his comments were completely unfair, essentially dismissing years of effort that the league and its players have poured into building something bigger than themselves. So, she jumped in fast to shut down that narrative, making it clear the WNBA has the power to thrive far beyond just one player's influence. And here's the twist. Bird's frustration wasn't aimed only at Stephen A. She also took issue with Shannon Sharp, who had been echoing the same sentiment, that Caitlin Clark was single-handedly driving unprecedented attention to women's basketball. Both Smith and Sharp openly praised Clark as the league's main draw, crediting her with the surge in ticket sales, TV ratings and overall buzz. But for Bird, that take completely missed the bigger picture. In her eyes, all this Clark-centered hype risked overshadowing the league's larger mission. Bird has spent decades supporting women's basketball, and she remains adamant that the WNBA's success shouldn't hinge on any single superstar. To her, the foundation of growth has always been teamwork, depth, and collective progress, not just star power.
Into the Liberty Games. They're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there for a regular season.
But here's the cold, hard truth, and it's impossible to ignore. The WNBA has been struggling to keep up the excitement and fan engagement that Caitlin Clark brought with her explosive arrival. The moment she stepped onto the scene, she ignited a surge of attention unlike anything the league had seen before. And then, just as suddenly, her absence left a massive void. The league found itself scrambling, desperately trying to maintain that same level of buzz without her. Fans had hoped all the momentum from Clark's dominant college performances would seamlessly carry over into the WNBA playoffs, even without her on the court. But reality hit hard. Keeping that fire burning without Clark proved to be a far greater challenge than anyone wanted to admit.
Nonsense about things that Caitlin was doing wrong when, in my personal opinion, she was doing nothing but going out there and playing great basketball every night and ignoring the hate that was coming to her from all sides, not only.
So how did the WNBA try to handle the sudden drop in interest? By slashing ticket prices for playoff games. Fans immediately caught on. Without Caitlin Clark, those prices plummeted, and it sent a pretty clear message. The league was desperate to fill seats. On the surface, it looked like the WNBA was thriving, selling out arenas and crushing it with attendance. But the reality was far more complicated. Lowering prices was a calculated move to avoid the embarrassment of empty stadiums during crucial playoff matchups. It created the illusion of high demand, but in truth, it masked a much bigger issue. Without Clark, the energy, the excitement, and the genuine fan interest just weren't there.
Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now. Immediately, absolutely.
Honestly, if the WNBA had kept ticket prices anywhere close to what they were during Caitlin Clark's season, those arenas would have been practically empty. The league has struggled to recreate the same buzz and energy Clark brought every single night. Yes, they managed to fill seats and keep up the appearance of strong attendance, but let's be real, that was just a short-term bandage on a much deeper issue. And here's where it gets even more surprising. Sue Bird was actually one of the earliest voices to recognize Clark's potential to completely transform women's basketball. She praised her impact when the hype first started. That's why her recent comments hit so hard. They suggest a complete pivot. Bird seems less concerned now with spotlighting Clark's rise, and more determined to protect the league's long-term reputation at all costs.
People stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharp and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN? So I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't.
It's becoming more and more obvious that Caitlin Clark's incredible ability to draw massive attention to women's basketball has made her both a celebrated hero and, at the same time, a major target. This is a classic storyline in sports. When an athlete skyrockets to popularity, the praise often comes hand in hand with heavy criticism, not only from rivals but sometimes even from within their own community. For every fan who cheers Clark's rapid rise, there are others who see her success as a direct challenge to the established order. And now, adding fuel to the fire, another WNBA legend, Sheryl Swoopes, has stepped in with her own take, offering opinions on Clark's impact that only make the conversation more complicated.
WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlin is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. Yeah. She brings in all the things. We know.
Just like with Caitlin Clark herself, the league is now struggling to maintain that same electrifying level of fan engagement and enthusiasm in her absence. Without a player who carries Clark's undeniable charisma, the WNBA is forced to face a tough reality. Despite making real progress in growing its fan base and visibility, the league still faces major challenges in attracting widespread attention and sustaining consistent support. Clark was a once-in-a-generation phenomenon. Her talent and magnetic personality elevated the sport in ways that drew in people who might never have watched women's basketball otherwise.
To imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work.
Clark's real gift wasn't just her game, it was her knack for captivating casual fans. She sparked a wave of interest the WNBA has found nearly impossible to replicate. Now that she's moved on, the league is scrambling, desperately trying to fill the void left by her star power and keep alive the excitement she ignited. Meanwhile, as her own star continues to soar, Caitlin Clark has stayed completely locked in on her craft, consistently performing at an elite level despite all the noise swirling around her. And let's be honest, it's getting harder and harder to ignore the growing chorus of people trying to tear her down. Whether it's jealousy, insecurity, or just resistance to change, there will always be those who push back against an athlete who seems to have it all.